Hey, what's up guys, it's 𝐻𝐤𝐤 here and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. This one is going to be about the FIFA 21 beta, which I actually got to play a couple weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, I believe. Yeah, I'll be giving you guys my thoughts about that and also about the new trailer which dropped a few days ago and also the pitch notes. So yeah, I'll be giving you guys my first impressions of the actual game because yeah, I was lucky enough to test it out with a couple game changers. And yeah, if you like the sound of it, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell as well for more videos. And if there are any questions throughout the video which have not been answered, then let me know in the comments down below or on Twitter, which is at 𝐻𝐤𝐤94. So as I said, I had the opportunity to play the game early for about 3 days straight from, I believe, Friday till Sunday night. The game modes I was able to play were the regular kickoff mode and Volta. And most of the Volta news that got out there when the FIFA 20 news got released, I think it was only like online team play that they were talking about. And yeah, since I only played some offline modes, I can't really give you more information than EA did, since I only played a couple offline games and they were just the exact same as on FIFA 20. So yeah, I won't be going over any Volta related gameplay in this video, but if you have any questions though, then again feel free to let me know in the comments or on Twitter. So the beta I got to play only at offline modes. So what I did was invited over some friends to see how the game would play if you faced real humans, rather than playing against the AI the whole time, which is just boring. And it is easier to see how the game plays, right, if you play against real people, basically, instead of the AI. So I managed to play about 15 games against my friends and about 10 to 15 against the AI, which were, I think, mostly on beginner, because I was like messing around with skill moves, trying some combos here and there. But I'll get into skill moves and all the other new features later on. So before jumping into brand new features for this year's game, I would like to give you guys my first impressions when I picked up the controller for the first time. Like usually when I try out a new FIFA, I sort of like need to adjust to how the players feel, move, run, pass, how skill moves feel, etc. All those little things. I think it's the same with everyone else, to be honest. But yeah, in FIFA 21, I did not have that feeling at all. Like, it felt just almost the exact same as FIFA 20. Now, I personally don't think that's a bad thing, because that would mean that EA put the focus on fixing things which were broken in FIFA 20, rather than adding just new stuff, which they also mentioned in the pitch notes. So I think that was a great thing. So yeah, and keep in mind as well that we will be getting a brand new version of FIFA 21 when the next gen consoles drop in like from this point in August. It's in like 4 months, hopefully. So like November, December or something. But yeah, my first impressions were good. The gameplay felt responsive, especially dribbling, which was a big issue for me in FIFA 20. Passing as well felt really responsive, worked correctly most of the time. The natural collision system EA put out in the trailer is something you definitely notice when jumping from 20 to 21 for the first time. It makes the game feel a lot smoother, and also the flow of the game is just a lot better. Small things such as L1 and R1 when jumping into a match just skips any cinematic shown before going into a match, basically. Like, it brings you immediately to the point where you can kick off. Like, usually you had to spam the X button on PlayStation or the A button on Xbox to skip all those unnecessary cinematics at the beginning of the game, but now you can just jump by just pressing those two buttons, which is great, I think. Saves a lot of time as well, especially necessary stuff you don't like to see. Now you can also skip the advantage rule, which I believe got leaked on Twitter when getting fouled. Yeah, all you need to do is like hold the left trigger, so L2 and R2, and it will immediately give you the free kick instead of like slowing the game down yourself, which sometimes can be a little bit annoying. They've also adjusted the time of taking a throw-in, a free kick, a goal kick, celebrating, etc. It's a lot shorter. Goes by a lot faster, basically. Yeah, which I know a lot of people used to sort of, time waste with, basically, especially with throw-ins and all that kind of stuff. So one of my number one frustrations with FIFA 20 were auto blocks. Like, it did seriously not matter from which angle around the box you would shoot. If there was a defender a couple meters away, it would legit always hit that specific defender. And I know during the trailer it looked like they made it even worse, but it's actually a lot less in FIFA 21, which is great. Like, auto blocks still happen, of course, because if they would remove auto blocks entirely, then I think it would be too difficult to defend. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, it just happens not as often as in FIFA 20, which I think is great. It also really depends which defender you have in front of you. Let's say it's Van Dijk, who is like around a 90 rating or something, or maybe 92, 93 in FIFA 21. You obviously have like better positioning than, let's say, a silver player like Opara from the MLS. Like, therefore, he will block a lot more shots than Opara would, which makes sense, right? And that's something that in FIFA 20 just wasn't there. Like, the same goes for jockeying with a defender. You'll notice you can do it a lot faster with a defender than, for example, with a midfielder or an attacker, which, again, should make sense, but that wasn't the case for FIFA 20. Like, a player like Mbappe or Van Dijk, they were able to jockey at the same speed, even though Van Dijk is a defender and Mbappe isn't. Like, they've tried to put a lot more focus on specific stats, specific attributes, such as defensive awareness, which you can also read about in the pitch notes. Like, I'll leave a link to the pitch notes and also the trailer in case you haven't seen it in the description down below as well. The same goes for attacking. When you have a higher rated player as your striker, let's say Suarez, he's a lot smarter when it comes to positioning himself and also making runs to not become offside. Also shown some bits of it in the trailer. I've tested this out with both very good teams, so teams with a 5-star rating like PSG, and also teams who were worse, so let's say a team with, I don't know, 2-star rating or something. And I really felt a difference when playing and paying attention to such things as positioning, jockeying, and auto blocks. So yeah, that's, I think, something you will notice as well. But since everyone plays Ultimate Team, like, you know, from head-to-head gameplay, like kickoff gameplay, like, it usually is different to Ultimate Team. So I'm not fully sure how this kind of stuff applies to FUT, but hopefully it will be the same. I unfortunately did not get to test out the new crosses and headers heavily, since, as you know from my playstyle, I barely cross myself anyway, so I can't really give you guys my thoughts on that, unfortunately. One of the things a lot of people wanted in the game too was having more control of like specific actions that happen during the game, such as like auto clearances, auto flare passes, auto shots. Like, now in FIFA 21, you have the ability to actually have them turned on or off before you jump into a game. Like, if you go to the settings where you can like customize everything on your controls, you can see like a screenshot on the screen as well. That is where you can change it up, which I think is something a lot of people ask for too, and I think is a good addition as well to the game. Anyway, I think like FIFA 21 feels like a more polished version of FIFA 20, which is, I think, something they always should try to accomplish, rather than just making a brand new game from the ground up, if that makes sense. Again, keep in mind that I did not get the chance to play on any server, so when I say dribbling feels responsive, I'm talking about offline gameplay. Now, I did play like a few seasons of career mode on FIFA 20, but it was mostly games that were simulated, so I can't really tell if the gameplay felt unresponsive on offline gameplay, if that makes sense. So yeah, you have to correct me on that, but yeah, for FIFA 21 anyway, the gameplay felt responsive when I played those games, and they were all on kickoff. So hopefully that is a good sign for FIFA 21. So now let's get into some of the other features which I've not talked about, starting off with my favorite topic, skill moves. Now, a lot has changed in the last 2 years, for maybe the better, for maybe the worse, I don't know. It's up to you to decide. With this year included as well, so I think it's going to be another year for skillers like me, and hopefully some of you as well, to adjust again. But I think this year it is definitely for the better. So in FIFA 21, as you all know, they implemented an error on skill move chaining, which I was not a fan of at all. But knowing how people abuse certain things in FIFA 19, like the La Croqueta and Elastico spam, I was able to somewhat understand why EA implemented it in FIFA 20. Like, when I tested the game last year at Gamescom, I told some of the devs back then that it would have been better and a lot more rewarding for especially players like me, that there would be no error at all if you combine different skill moves all together. Because the reason for that is because it actually takes a lot of practice and skill to pull off such combinations. Like, spamming the same skill move over and over again just doesn't take any skill, or at least not as much, you know? So therefore, I think it was like reasonable to apply error when situations like that happen, like spamming the same skill over and over again. Unfortunately though, EA did not take that into consideration, and they made it so that even if you did like 3 different skill moves after each other, Doesn't matter if you had a player like Mbappe or a silver 5-star skiller like 𝐿𝐾𝐲𝐤𝐤. You all know him, I think, the Scottish player. You would get punished the exact same way. Like, it doesn't matter how the attributes are for those two players. Like, Mbappe obviously has better attributes than 𝐿𝐾𝐲𝐤𝐤. You still would get punished after, I believe, the second or third skill move, which just... It was kind of dumb in my eyes, but yeah. It kind of ruined it for me for FIFA 20, although I'm kind of adjusted to it now. I just wish it was the same again as in previous FIFAs, really. In FIFA 21, however, they made it a bit different since they reduced the penalty and error for chaining skill moves. They increased the number of complex skill moves that you can chain without the ball getting away to 3, up to 2 in FIFA 20, so that's up by 1. Complex skill moves are examples like the elastico, the drag back, the la croqueta. They also increased the number of normal skill moves that you can chain without the ball getting away to 6, up to 3 in FIFA 20. There's a plus 3. And normal skill moves are the stop and turn, like the Berber spin, the fake shot, the heel to heel, those kind of skill moves really. And easy skill moves like the ball or step over can be changed without any error, which I am not fully sure of was the case in FIFA 20. But yeah, it says it in the pitch notes as well. It also says that note that the numbers above represent the values possible if you execute exactly what is laid out above. And it will vary slightly in other situations. Like, for example, chaining up to 6 normal skill moves. Normal skill moves being the stop and turn, the fake shot, and the heel to heel. That is possible. But the value would change if one of those skill moves was changed to a complex skill move. And a complex skill move, again, is an elastico, a drag back, or la croqueta. Hopefully it makes sense. Like, I'll try to make tutorials on the skill moves again when the game obviously drops, or when I'm allowed to capture, that is. But yeah, that means there is still error when chaining skill moves together, but they've reduced it. They reduced it less compared to FIFA 20. I believe it's also a lot more player relative this year. Meaning that you could get more error when skilling with a player like 𝐿𝐾𝐲𝐤𝐤 instead of Mbappe. Like I brought that up in the FIFA 20 situation where there was like no difference between those two players. But I believe in FIFA 21 there is going to be a difference between those players. So that is great as well. They also improved and created a lot more reliable skill moves detection system. Like, I have had so many situations, and I bet that I'm not the only one, in FIFA 20, where I was 100% sure that I did a skill move, but the player just simply would not execute it. Like, at first, I thought there was something wrong with my controller or that I was going crazy, but luckily enough, it had something to do with the actual game. And this is, again, something they also mentioned in the pitch notes, and again, something I mentioned earlier, like, they are finally aware of things that are actually broken, and those are the things they want to fix first instead of just making a brand new game from the ground up. And this is also why I think FIFA 21 on the Xbox One and PS4 feels almost the exact same to FIFA 20. Yeah, back to skill moves. Some of the skill moves also have changed controls. The drag back now can only be done by holding L1 and R1 together and then moving the left stick. So LB, RB. The only difference there is that you now have to hold L1 as well. A lot of people were speculating that also the controls itself were different, but you only have to hold L1 as well. So, which I guess anyway is not a big adjustment. Like, this little adjustment won't take long, I think, because I remember back in, I think, FIFA 14, everyone went crazy, including me, that they removed the skill move modifier, which back then was L2, which right now is still needed for some skill moves, like the fake, no, not the fake shot, the Ronaldo chop and the fake Rabona. But right now you can do any skill moves with just using the right stick. But back then you also had to hold L2 or LT. So yeah, again, that minor adjustment of holding L1 now for a drag back, I think everyone will need to get used to it in maybe the first week or so. And then, yeah, everyone thinks it's normal, basically. One of the coolest changes to skill moves is that any player, apart from the goalkeeper, so players with 1-star skill moves, can now do almost any skill move in the game. Like, they've made it so that whenever you do some type of combination on the right stick, your player will end up doing a skill move. Like, I've also kind of explained it on Twitter, but yeah, I'll try to make a different video for you guys as well. If you'd like to, you can let me know in the comments down below to like go more in depth about how that whole system works. Like, their effectiveness of like executing a specific skill move, however, depends directly on their skill move rating. So like it still matters if you have a player with 2 stars or 4 stars. Like lower rated players will perform it slower, and there will be more error variance of some of these skill moves, like the rainbow flick, for example. Usually with a rainbow flick, the ball would go from behind over your head and then it lands in front of you. But if you now do a rainbow flick with a player which has 2 stars, the ball will either stay to the side, or it can also end up like staying behind you. Like it goes in the air but still stays behind you. Like I think a lot of people can get really creative with it, and yeah, score some cool goals, I think. So I'm very excited to see how everyone yeah, uses those skills with those lower rated players. But yeah, these skill moves that players from 2 stars till 5 stars can pull off are the roulette, the heel to heel, the body feint, the stop and turn, which is the Berber spin, the 1-foot spin, and the rainbow flick. And any 5-star exclusive skill move won't work. The reason for that is because let's say you want to pull off a body feint with Mustafi, who has 2-star skills. The controls for it is a 180 degrees turn on your right stick. But that is also the exact same controls for an elastico. So you get the point, you get what I mean? Like there are some skill moves which have the exact same controls as like a lower rated skill move. Hopefully it makes sense. I wish I could just show you guys some gameplay from the beta, but unfortunately I'm not allowed. Then I would probably be easier to show to you guys. But yeah, hopefully it makes sense. Like skill moves like the fake Rabona, like you can't do that one with the player with 2 stars too, because it also needs buttons as an input. So any skill move you try to do on the right stick should work, apart from the 5-star ones. So the Hocus Pocus, Elastico, Reverse Elastico. There's also like another heel flick where you have to hold R1, I believe, or RB. You guys find out about it soon anyway, hopefully. Anyway, we also have the ability to cancel the skill move, which is pretty cool. To do this, you simply have to hold both triggers, so L2, R2, or LT, RT, and move your left stick in the direction which you want to go. Now, I don't think they mentioned this in the pitch notes. I think it only says holding left triggers, but I tried that during the beta, and the skill move would still like be fully done. So make sure to use your left stick as well, like change direction. That is, I think, what causes you canceling that specific skill move. So the skill moves that you can cancel by doing so are the following. We have the fake shot, the 3-touch roulette, the La Croqueta, the McGeady spin, the stop and turn, the fake pass exit, and the scoop turn. So those are all the skill moves which can be cancelled. Maybe they will be adding more in the future. I'm not fully sure. But yeah, we'll see that when, of course, the game drops. You actually, funny enough, maybe some of you guys know, you actually were already able to cancel some skill moves in the game in FIFA 20 and also in previous editions. If you combine it with a pass or a cross or a different skill move even, as long as you like did the input quick enough, like you would cancel like a specific skill move. Like for example, go to the arena right now in FIFA 20, do an advanced rainbow flick. You need to play with 5 stars for it. And then as soon as he flicks the ball up, try to do like a pass or a cross or a shot. Then you'll see what I mean. So that is something that you could also maybe put under the thing of like canceling skill moves. But yeah, that has been in the game since, I don't know, FIFA 11 or 12 or something. Yeah, you can do like an advanced rainbow flick to a scorpion kick or a Bolasi flick in the arena, basically, if you really try your best. And that is also still possible in FIFA 21, which is great. Now, with the release of a brand new FIFA game, we also get some new skill moves added. And believe it or not, this is usually what I'm the most interested in when I get to try out the new game for the first time. So I'm always like looking for new skill moves and stuff. That is like honestly the first thing I usually want to know the details of. So this year there are a total of 3 brand new skill moves in the game. First off, we have the feint forward turn done by Mbappe here on the screen. This skill move can be performed by players with 3-star skill moves and above. And the controls are very simple. Just flick the right stick back twice. And yeah, you will sort of do like a step over and then a body feint to the different direction or different side. Very effective skill move as well. Used it quite a bit on the beta and very fun to mess around with. The second one is the drag to heel, done by Mason Mount in the trailer. This skill move requires a player with 4-star skill moves and above in order to do it. Yeah, you have to hold L1 and flick the right stick back, and then either to the left or to the right, depending on which way you want to exit the skill move. And yeah, this skill move has a lot of similarity to the drag back as well. So I think it will be used quite a lot. Also, this one seemed to be very effective. When you're like in front of goal and there's like a defender in your way, you can either do a drag back or this skill move now, which is great to like change direction quickly and maybe go for a shot or something. And then the third and final skill move is the ball roll fake turn, done by 𝐻𝐤𝐤𝐞 in the trailer. And this skill move requires a player with 5-star skill moves and can be done by holding L2 and flicking the right stick forward and then either to the left or right, depending on which way you want to exit. This specific skill move doesn't seem to look like a very effective one at first glance, and more of a show-off. But if you look closely, you'll notice that after performing the skill move, the player has changed his position to the opposite direction. Meaning if you do this skill whilst facing the goal, you will end up facing the goal with your back. It's a little bit similar to the 3-touch roulette in terms of how you end up facing the goal after you've done the skill, if that makes sense. So yeah, whenever you pull this one off, I think you need to like kind of be aware of how you're positioned really. Otherwise you'll kind of mess up your dribble. Now I've got 2 more things to talk about. How long is this video now? Already over 20 minutes. Yeah, I've got 2 more things to talk about, which are not skill moves, which are skill moves related, and you've most likely seen in the trailer as well. The first one is the bridge skill move, which can be done by any player in the game, including the goalkeeper. They have advertised this as a new skill move, but it actually has been in the game longer than I believe Ultimate Team exists, funny enough. All they've done is made some adjustments to the controls, which they also did a few years ago, I believe, in FIFA 18. On the screen is an example of how it used to look in FIFA 11. This is a compilation from Marius Jerpset, the OG, when it comes to FIFA skillers. And you can see how effective it is, or it was. The controls back then were simply, I think, like flicking the right stick in the direction your opponent was facing you. And I remember it being very difficult to pull off every time, since it was mainly based on like timing and whether or not your opponent was like positioned right in front of you. But it looked so sick when pulled off correctly. And yeah, I always kind of was a little bit like upset about that skill move wasn't like done correctly in terms of controls in FIFA. Here's another example of the bridge skill move in FIFA 18. Back then in FIFA 18, again, they also advertised it as a new skill move, and they changed the control slightly. Like back then you had to hold, and I believe in FIFA 20 as well, you had to hold R2 or RT and then flick the right stick forward again. Like it all had to do with timing. Like it was very important to time it right, otherwise you would simply like knock the ball forward instead of like the player actually doing the animation and pushing the ball on the other side of the player. And once again, in FIFA 21, they've advertised it as a brand new skill. Luckily though, they've made the controls so much easier than how they used to be. Now you simply have to press R1 twice and your player will perform the bridge animation. It doesn't matter if there's nobody in front of you, the animation will still happen. And yeah, that's something you weren't able to do with the old controls. Like you can't do that in FIFA 20. So I'm very, very glad that they've revamped this skill move correctly this time. I've tried the bridge skill move a lot on the beta, and I think anyway, it's definitely a game changer and one you will be seeing used a lot when playing online. Like you can even pen your opponent with it, or flick it past the goalkeeper when timed correctly, which is sick. There's also another new addition when it comes to the bridge, although it's not like a proper bridge, and that is an actual nutmeg modifier. You can see from the animation itself that it looks different than the bridge as well. Like the player pushes the ball forward with the sole of his foot, if that makes sense, rather than like knocking it forward like with the bridge skill move. Now, it sounds maybe a little bit scary, this nutmeg modifier, but don't worry, it's a lot harder than it looks and than you think it is. The controls are both bumpers, so L1 and R1, or LB and RB, and flicking the right stick. Notice though that this nutmeg modifier allows you to knock the ball in any direction you want. So forward, left, right, back, diagonally, etc. And that is something you can't do with the bridge. since that, so to say, new skill move can only be done forward. So the directional nutmegs can be done any way, basically, any side, and the bridge is only forward. The directional nutmeg, in my eyes anyway, is something I've always wanted to have in FIFA, and I know some people will probably be annoyed about it because I think it's going to be OP, but trust me, again, I've said this before, it's not going to be. It definitely is not going to be. And if it is, EA already mentioned this when I was in a call with them, that if it happens to be OP, then they will gladly like patch it or something, so don't worry about that. Anyway, I think I've talked enough about skill moves and what has changed. Again, if you guys want me to make like a specific video on the new skills, I will do that anyway, but like how they work and stuff, and which skill moves you can exactly do and how it all looks, like the animations and stuff of like a player with 2-star skill moves doing a rainbow flick, then let me know in the comments, and I'll try to make a video about it as soon as I'm allowed to capture. Anyway, now let's talk about agile dribbling. I was a little bit suspect when they announced this new dribble, because for the last, I don't know how many years, they've added a new type of dribble to the game each year. We've had precision dribbling in, I believe, FIFA 13, no-touch dribbling in FIFA 16, strafe dribbling in FIFA 20, and so on. I probably forgot a few. And from my experience, all those like new types of dribbling mechanics have never been a huge success in the FIFA community. I could be wrong, but yeah, like, I mean, I don't see them being used as often as you maybe think you would. Like, again, I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. Anyway, so let's dive a little bit more into agile dribbling. Before I got to play the FIFA 21 beta, I had a presentation of the game where they showed what they wanted to achieve with agile dribbling. Their focus was to give players a new, like, creative way to dribble past your opponent when especially being under pressure. And during this presentation, they showed like a real life example of what they meant. So I guess it's easy for me to show you those clips as well. And don't worry, if anyone of EA is watching, these clips are not from the actual presentation itself. Like, I've looked up those clips they showed on YouTube and downloaded them and put them in this video. So it's just so that I can give the viewers as well like a better example of what they kind of wanted to achieve with agile dribbling. So right now, you see Bernardo Silva on the screen. He actually dribbles this way very, very often when he's under pressure and when a defender is trying to tackle him. He has his very fast footwork, which allows him to move the ball side to side, back and forth, like in this example, and prevent him from losing the ball and getting tackled, which is very important in football. In the next clip, you see Pablo Fornals, who now plays for West Ham, I believe, and you also see how useful this can be when done correctly. Like, even at the corner flag, in such tight spaces, you can still find space when you beat your opponent when he commits. So this is like an example of what they want to achieve with agile dribbling in FIFA 21. And here's an example of how it looks in FIFA 21. How this works is you have to press R1 or the right bumper on Xbox while moving the left stick in the direction you want to go. Like, players like Mbappe and Messi will feel a lot more responsive when doing agile dribbling in comparison to any defender with low dribbling like Virgil van Dijk or something. At first glance, it looks very, very similar to precision dribbling from FIFA 13. That is something I noticed straight away. Like, here you can see some clips of how it looked back then. Same as in FIFA 21, the player would keep the ball close to his feet and you were able to move the ball like from left to right, back and forth in a very, very fast way. And I remember it not being used as much in FIFA 13, like by me, but I believe also by some other people. So my first impressions of like this new agile type of dribbling like weren't that high because of that reason. Like, I've tried to use it in most of the games when I played against some of my friends in kickoff mode and noticed that it wasn't really that effective. Like, I think it can only be effective when your opponent commits, which I think doesn't happen too often as soon as you start doing this type of dribbling. But again, I could be wrong. Again, I tried it out quite a bit and like wasn't the biggest fan. Hopefully that changes though when I get to play the game again online and mess around with it a lot more. So yeah, these are just like my first kind of thoughts about agile dribbling. I personally don't think that it adds too much to the game. Now, the last feature I want to talk about are the creative runs for FIFA 21. And this is something that I tried out heavily as well, and I'm a huge fan of. Again, this is something you can't abuse in my eyes, since you need to be smart with it. Otherwise, you'll make things worse for yourself. As shown in the trailer, you can really give your like AI teammates the instruction of how you want them to run when you're attacking. You can even do this by using an AI teammate as like a decoy for your opponent to put him off guard, like fake runs and stuff, and take advantage of like open spaces when you see any, just like in real life. Next thing, which also falls under the new creative runs feature, is the lock system. This can be triggered by pressing both sticks in before you make a pass. This will like pop up a mini indicator, which then gets a little bit bigger, and that kind of shows that as soon as you make a pass, you will still keep control of the player which passed the ball. Like with this feature, you can control the player after you've made the pass and run into any direction you want. As soon as you press the pass button or the cross button, you will receive the ball again from your AI teammate. Now, my first kind of thoughts were that maybe as soon as the AI had the ball, that would maybe be a little bit too OP, but luckily EA made it so that that's not the case. Like, there's no way to abuse this when the AI has the ball, because again, like, I bet that some of you guys were thinking that you can let the AI take over the rest of the game, but that's not how it works exactly. Whenever you pass the ball to your AI teammate and you go into position, the AI on your team will be only to like run slowly or maybe sprint, I'm not fully sure, and like deliver a pass. Like, it isn't able to perform any skill moves or any fancy stuff to make it difficult for your opponent. So again, there's no way for you as a player to abuse it for your opponent. I believe that is everything I wanted to cover, and I believe, because it's already a very long video, I see. Yeah, I think this is everything I wanted to cover really for this video. Hopefully you guys found it useful. Of course, if you did, drop a like, would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already. Again, hit the notification bell as well for more FIFA 20 content. And again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments or on Twitter. Twitter is probably the easiest because that is where I'll be replying instantly. So yeah, make sure to follow me as well on my social media, which is at @𝐋𝐢𝐤𝐞94, like Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.